What's up guys, my name is Sergeant Manley and welcome to American Truck Simulator single player. We are on the Rescale beta, which if you watch the multiplayer series that Rut and I have done, you know that both of us were super excited for this. So I'm getting my coverage to it a little bit late, but there will be an explanation for that a little bit later in the video. But for now, let's go ahead and hop in the cab and we are going to put on the brake. Let that beautiful air brake go all the way out, and we'll get going here. So, like I said, this is the rescaled beta. There are some issues with it, as I have read and seen in other people's videos, but they're all things I'm willing to put up with just simply because the map is going to be a lot better and a lot more realistic. So having the rescale is something that the rescale is something that I've wanted for quite a while, and I'm glad that we get to participate in the beta and give some feedback and everything like that. So we are currently in Las Vegas and we are going to Flagstaff, Arizona. We're going from Charged to FedEx. I've got a couple of mods in here, some that actually work. Actually, I'm using all of the same mods as Jeff Fabiano, so if you want to know what I'm using, just go check out his video description, and you'll get everything that I am using. So I'm gonna put it in gear, although you should never be sitting with an 18-wheeler out of gear. That is just bad practice and a good way to get yourself or someone else killed. But that's why it's a simulator. So we can make mistakes, and we do not put anyone else's life in jeopardy if we do mess up. So we're going to go ahead and take that turn a little bit wider than we need to. I'm going to get rid of that just because we do have a GPS down in the actual cab of the truck. But you guys probably noticed that I didn't have any videos up last week, and there are a couple of reasons for that. I'll go ahead and go with the easiest one. And I was having some issues with my headset. I still am having some issues with my headset. I've managed to EQ a good portion out. I've managed to use a noise gate and get rid of it, but there is a short in either the microphone or the headset itself that is causing some kind of thumping noise in my audio. You probably won't hear it that much in in a video, just because there's a lot of background noise going on. You're going to hear, ambient noise, stuff like that, but it is there, and that loose wire is causing some other issues that I won't mention just because I don't want you guys to notice, a lot of the flaws that are there in the audio, because overall this mic does sound okay, but there are it does have its shortcomings, just like anything else. So the other reason that I took a break is because I was having some issues with depression and anxiety, and I'll try not to make the entire video about it. But to make a long story short, I was diagnosed with major clinical depression and generalized anxiety disorder about 2.5, almost 3 years ago, and I was doing fine on medication for almost that entire time. So what really happened is I kind of realized that I was becoming more or less dependent on the medication to be happy, and that was it was causing a pretty, how do I want to put this? It was knowing that I had to take the medication to feel happy or to have any kind of control over my emotion was in reality kind of counteracting the effects the medication was supposed to have. So about 2 or 3 months ago, it may have been earlier, sometime earlier this year, I decided to wean myself off of the medication, take a little break from it just to see how things went without it. And actually it turned out that at the point that I was, taking the medication and everything like that, I was actually doing fairly well. The effects of the medication were still apparent, but they were mostly a placebo effect for the most part, because it got to the point where if I realized halfway through the day, after I'd already been doing fine, that if I forgot to take the medication, then everything just kind of stopped right there. I immediately started feeling the effects of depression and anxiety after I realized I hadn't taken the medication, and that was pretty annoying because up until the point that I realized I hadn't taken it, I would be doing perfectly fine. But after that point, I realized it. My mind is like, "Oh crap! You can't be happy. This can't happen." So slowly weaned myself off of the medication and did perfectly fine for the majority of this year. But what I've realized now is, even though I've gotten better with the medication did help me restabilize and regain control. What it's really for at this point is to avoid the massive dips that depression can cause. It's to avoid the massive mood swings that are bound to happen if you're diagnosed with clinical depression like I am. If you're diagnosed with depression that has the potential to arise and to be a problem more than it's likely to not be an issue, if that makes any sense. Basically, with it being diagnosed as clinical, that means I am almost guaranteed, if it ever does return in a serious capacity, that I'm going to have a lot more bad days than I am good out of a month. And it's not a good place to be. So I have resumed taking the medication, much lower doses than I used to. Just there to, I'm using it now that I know how things work without it and how things work with it. I'm using kind of that knowledge to keep myself stable and avoid those serious dips. They're probably still going to happen, but not nearly as frequently and not nearly as severely as they would if I wasn't taking it. So everything is up and back to normal. I don't want to dwell on that too much, simply because I am feeling better, and I don't want to take myself back to that point. I am not stopping nearly soon enough. Whoops. So let's bring that up. 70,736 pounds, and you may also notice that I have $2.8 million. That's because the account that I am using is my multiplayer account. It is the account I use for Truckers MP when I play with fans or play with Runt or anything like that. It is that account that I use, and because the timescale is ever so slightly changed in multiplayer, if you have a decent amount of drivers, or any drivers at all really, you are going to make a crap ton of money. None of that money is spawned in. That is all money that I have, according to the game anyway, legitimately made. So we're going to use a cheater's method to get back onto the highway here. We'll turn our hazards on, just so people get out of our way. And we are in California, which means our speed limit is 55, but that doesn't matter. We're going into a city anyway. So, I had those issues with depression, anxiety, and kind of fighting that, but I have returned. I am back to normal, and the medication is doing its job, so that is all good. Also had the headset issues, which kind of brought me to the conclusion of, well, it got me started to do some research. Ignore that turn, that was super non-legit, forgive me for that. But it got me started doing research on different types of microphones, different types of headsets, and different ways of setting up your audio, and I have decided to go for a more professional setup. I've decided to go with an actual XLR cardioid condenser microphone, and it's going to take me a little bit to get it. but the thing that brought on that idea and brought on that next step so closely is the fact that this headset is not doing that well performance-wise. I have to do a lot of mixing and a lot of noise gating and stuff like that to get it to sound as good as it does, and it still really doesn't sound that good. So I am getting a professional-esque setup. I haven't concretely decided on all of the components yet, but I know for sure, well, I'm going to contradict myself here, but I know for sure that I am most likely going with the Audio-Technica AT2035 microphone. That is highly regarded not only within the YouTube community, but within the musical community, and even Black Hollow, who is an audio engineer, gave it his thumbs up, gave it his seal of approval. So I'm definitely going with that. But as far as the interface, I'm not too sure. I'm probably going to go with the Focusrite Scarlett Solo, which if you've seen the Scarlett 2i2, it's the same thing, just only one microphone input, which is fine for me. I'm probably never going to have a co-op session or anything like that in my house, so that works out perfectly fine. And getting a more professional setup like that, obviously there's going to be much better sound quality, much better things like that. But I've just, I've come to realize, sorry about the swerving there, I looked over at my second monitor for a second, but I have come to realize that there are several pros and cons with either setup. If you have a headset, your audio is going to sound pretty much the same no matter what, because you can turn your head and the microphone stays in the same spot relative to your mouth, relative to its audio source. The downsides to a headset is, A, you're constantly moving the cable, so you are always introducing the chance for something to mess up. You're always introducing the chance for shorts to come in, and your setup is never going to be exactly the same every time, because the microphone's going to move, cables are going to move, things are going to get messed up. The other issue that I've discovered anyway, at least with my voice and using a microphone like this, is the proximity effect. The proximity effect gives you a lot more bass in your voice, which is kind of a good thing for me. Well, not really a good thing, but it does, it adds a pseudo sense of quality into a microphone and into somebody's voice. But it's also very destructive because you get more of those plosive sounds, like P's, B's, stuff like that. When you have that excess air come through your vocal cords and come through your mouth as you make a sound, the microphone, because it's so close to your mouth, is more likely to pick that up, and you're more likely to hear that in your audio. The other really big kind of personal issue I have with using a headset is it makes it really hard to do common things you need to do when recording, like taking a drink of water or quickly moving your head around or something like that, because I have found that I'll typically hit the microphone with my cup or hit the mic. Oh, what? Did not even see him. Whoopsie. Whoops. But I have found that I'll typically hit the microphone with the cup that I'm using or anything, because right now I have to drink through a straw in order to not make any excess sound in the microphone. So it has its pros, has its cons. I've weighed them both, kind of, and initially I thought I was going to stick with a headset style, but after looking at what can be done with an XLR, or not, I mean, there are headset XLRs, but after looking at the 2035, its response, its quality, everything like that, I think I really want to go with that. and try it out. So I'm going to pair it up with an audio interface like the Focusrite Scarlett Solo, most likely, and a simple little cheap but still semi-quality boom arm that I can start out with and get things going. And the total that I have, because I'm going to keep the actual cans of the HyperX Cloud 2 headset I'm using right now are phenomenal. I don't have any issues with the sound I hear. I just have issues with the sound I produce. So I'm going to get a 1/4 inch to 3.5 millimeter adapter so I can plug in the clouds to the audio interface and have control over everything like that and monitor myself as I speak. And I'm still going to be using voice meter to EQ and everything live, that way my audio sounds the same no matter what. But I do have even more plans. I've already made plans after these current plans to get a USB sound mixer, so I can have a physical board that controls all the sound coming into and out of my system and into and out of streams. Because that is that's kind of my ultimate goal, is being able to have full physical, don't do it, dude, you turd, but having full physical control over what goes on in my recordings. So having optical cables in and out of the system and having specific programs bound to specific cables and specific channels is the ultimate way to control audio levels, control everything like that on the fly. And it is definitely something I want to do, but that is a much more expensive and a much more complicated setup, so that's going to happen a little bit further down the road. But it, you know, plans. It's nice to have plans, it's nice to have goals. So everything is planned out and goals are set, but it's going to be a while before some of it happens. Because a professional audio setup of any kind is fairly cost prohibitive, especially for a young channel like me that doesn't generate that much extra money, and honestly I can't justify you know, income wise, or the ratio of spending to making money on this channel right now is super crazy in the negative. But that doesn't really matter to me because it's something I enjoy doing, and quality is something I always will seek to achieve. I'm actually exiting here. Whoops. Quality is something I always strive for, and things can always be better. So that's really where I'm going with this. It's a super expensive set. Well, it's a relatively expensive setup. Roughly $250, $300 for the whole setup I have in mind. But well worth it when you consider the quality that you get. So that, yeah, I'm gonna stop rambling about that now. Well, I actually spent the whole trip talking essentially about nothing, so that was great. I guess I should have picked a longer trip after all. Cool. Oh! The brakes did not function. That's what happens when you text and drive, kids. That is exactly what happens. Oh, man. The joys of showing people how stupid I can be. Also, I apologize for the frame drops you're seeing right now. I have no idea how to fix it because it's just this game. It doesn't seem to matter what quality setting I have chosen or anything like that. As soon as I go into the city, quality absolutely tanks. And we had a lag spike there. Awesome. So, I may have also chosen a bad way to try and align this trailer. Yeah, I did. So we're gonna actually back this thing up into this spot. I've kind of screwed myself here. So let's be a little more aggressive with it here to line it up in this spot, because my actual parking space is over there next to those spools. Okay, let's give this a shot. So, let's see if I have enough room to get out of here and realign it. I might not. I might not, but then again, I might just barely be able to squeeze it out of there. Nope, I hitched it. Shoot. Yeah, stop bouncing around, we get it. I am not a truck driver. If I do ever get a CDL, it will be to drive a bus, not a truck. Because I absolutely despise using trailers. Okay, I'm gonna have to use an external view for this because I can't make sense of what's going on here. How can I... Okay, here is what we're gonna do. What I should have done in the first place, but for some reason it didn't cross my mind. So we're gonna turn around in this area. We're gonna use this area to turn around, pull the trailer out here. Yep, I think that'll work a lot better. So this is kind of what I was trying to do by backing it up over there, but I did not consider the amount of space needed to actually back it up. So, put it back in reverse here, and see if I can maneuver it in that spot using the mirrors. I used to be able to do this, no problem, but then I stopped playing ATS for about a month, and all of my skills went to crap. So we're actually blindsiding it in there. I'm gonna be way off. I can call that right now. Okay, so I'm not gonna be too far off, as we can hop out and take a look there. I'm not too far off, and there might be a chance to salvage it. Wait, no, there's not, because I'm going to that spot, not the one I'm... Okay, so I tried to call it too early. Again, I am not a truck driver, and I probably never will be. I'm much better at maneuvering a solid vehicle, not something with a trailer where you have to... Oh, more skill involved, really, I guess you can say. Let's see... There's a lot of pre-planning involved when you're driving a truck, and a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people seem to think that, oh, you know, you're just driving a truck, so you drive and that's it. But there's actually a whole lot of pre-planning, and we're going to use our spotter here to make sure we're not going to clip that trailer, and we are not. So we'll hop back in, see if we can back it up to an acceptable range there. Let's hop over and use that mirror. And I think I've actually got it. So, but a lot of people don't realize the amount of skill that it takes to drive an 18-wheeler, and I am crooked as hell, but if the game accepts it, That will be... Nope, the game didn't accept it. Damn it. But we're closer. And if Ron is watching this, I know he's laughing his ass off right now, because he always does when we do multiplayer. Okay, one last... You know, screw it, I'm gonna use the outside view. I've tried. I've failed. So let's... I would love to have a wheel. And... okay, got it. We'll put our parking brake on, decouple it. We'll watch that happen over there. Beautiful. Level 28. I didn't even think to look at the specs. But yeah, that is going to do it for this episode, guys. If you want to see more stuff like this, when you're just kind of driving and talking, it might not always be an ATS. I might do ETS, or I might do some other kind of driving games that I can find. Let me know, because I really do enjoy just kind of like sitting down and talking with you guys. So let me know if you want to see more stuff like this, because there might be a multiplayer aspect to this soon. But that is it for this episode, guys. Really hope you enjoyed my ramblings, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.